And we're live. Welcome. What's going on, killers? July 16th, 2025. Got a special show for you today, but first we're going to get through the deepen news. Top of the hops, what do we got? Onocoy pre-sales open for Ono. You can find that link anywhere. Look at their X, etc. If you want to get some Ono tokens, you can get them. I've been running the, whatever the station is, the SparkFun X5 for a while, so I got plenty of Bono that I'll convert to Ono. But if you want to get some Ono, it's a good time to do it. I want to say that closes Sunday, so hit that sucker up if you'd like. If you'd like to enter or continue on in the dangerous world of deepen in Anyone news, the Anyone kit is on GitHub. So if you want to develop with what they're doing, you can do that. I've heard reports so far that the browsing experience is pretty rad and as good or better than anything else out there as far as VPNs. That's pretty cool to see. In Helium land, we're going to talk a ton about Wi-Fi today, but what's up, Jay? I thought we'd cover the basics. Let's see, they've got an AMA on Halving tomorrow, 1 p.m. Pacific, so whatever, 4 hours after this time tomorrow. And then if you haven't done your veHNT delegations, make sure that you get those things in. Delegations vote proxies are removed on August 1st unless you update delegations and proxies in July. So you got some time. Don't screw that up. I mean, I guess if you do, you just don't make money on your staking. So if that's important to you, then pay attention to that. In Hivemapper land, MIP24 looks like, is it either live or it passed on hex-based contributions, 24/7 mapping, and the freshness being determined by the upload time, not the collection time. So interesting stuff there. DIMO land, they've got this DIMO Japan thing out on Twitter. It looked pretty cool, or on X. And then this road racer mini app game. Just kind of cool to see people building on that stuff. It's always good to see new stuff coming out in each of these projects. Lets you know they're still alive. In Wingbits, I thought this was pretty interesting. Is I'm seeing in my kind of the wider paying attention to the general landscape investing is not that crypto's investing. Crypto is batshit crazy. Don't do anything with it that you're not totally willing to lose. But in investing in general, there's a ton of action focus on the Middle East, and this is no exception. Wingbits is talking about this focus on Gulf air traffic and how Saudi is going to be injecting 100 billion with a B into aviation over the next couple of years. It seems like a lot of money to me. Probably a pretty important thing to be tracking planes as part of that. So cool to see. Local news here in San Diego, the Esri conference is going on today, yesterday, and tomorrow. Spexi is going to be there, so I'll see if I can reach out to those guys, go down and say hi. And that's most of it. In MeteoScientific, geez, I've been busy as a one-legged man in bucking contest. A bunch of stuff has come up for that. So for those of you who are watching MeteoScientific, there is a lot happening under the hood. Nothing I can talk about, A, because I don't want to jinx it, B, because it's not public. And C, there's some other reason. Let's see, the sled project's still going. Sled finally broke, so I've got to go fix it. But yeah, that's generally kind of cool. And then we've got a podcast. I'm not sure if I'm going to launch it tomorrow or next week. I think I'm going to go down to 1 a week instead of 2, but some great guests coming up on that. And then bottom of the hops, we got about to get into the main meat of the show, but Flywheel Systems is raising deep awareness and Web3 awareness with every design and deployment. Check them out. The link is in the description. I think it's just flywheel.systems. 619 cancel the halving. Unlikely that's going to work. And then let's see if we can get Joe on here. So it's funny. I had a bunch of people reach out to me, not a bunch, 2, maybe 3, saying like, hey, can I explain Wi-Fi offload to you? Because you clearly don't understand it, which is true. I don't understand it. Seems like a neat thing, one of many neat things in the various worlds of what's going on. Oh, let's see, Joe, you clicked the link and it's not working. Let me try this one. I probably gave you the wrong one. Try that guy. And then where is the, hang on, there are some technical difficulties here with folks coming in. Now, I think I should see you when you come in. It says it's ringing. Oh, motherfucker, I don't see it. Let me put my glasses on so I can make sure the thing's in there. But I'm not hearing it and I'm not seeing it. There we go. Yahtzee. Cool. Let's drop this in here and go to 2 guests. And then we'll put Joe in here. Beep, beep, beep. What's up, dog?
Hey, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I got you 5x5. Let me take Helium off the screen.
Any
Talk to me
feedback
about,
there? Are we good?
yeah, talk to me about Wi-Fi offload. What's going on?
Awesome. Wherever you want to start, there's a couple topics that we can cover. But by the way, I was not one of the people who said you don't understand it. I just wanted to come on here and talk about it.
Oh yeah,
But
I've been told I don't understand it by other people for sure.
yeah, oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
walk me through it.
we can go pretty deep into this. But I mean, if there's any starting point, I want to go through like some of the basics, management, some of the security concerns people have, because I see that's mentioned quite a bit. And then one of the topics that I really want to dig into is some of the basic RF planning and theory behind it. It's not going to be too boring here, but really optimizing. And with Nova, they said that they're going to change the Helium mobile management dashboard so you can select your own channels and transmit power. So that's really something I wanted to kind of dig into as well. I it's there's a lot of misconceptions around it. I see a lot of discussion in the Helium Discord. So,
Oh, maybe
uh,
we start with that then. Like, what do you think is the most misunderstood thing about maybe Helium Wi-Fi to start, or Helium Mobile to start?
most misunderstood. Good question. I'm not entirely sure to be honest. There,
Okay, well, give me some like common things where someone like me comes in and says like, ah, this will replace your Wi-Fi, or whatever it is that someone will say.
yeah,
How do you
not
walk
not
people
necessarily,
through it?
and not necessarily. So we just start from the beginning and
Yeah.
why this has become a thing. So Pass Point, otherwise known as Hotspot 2.0, um, they're used pretty much interchangeably, but uh, it's been around for a while, and traditionally, what it was used for was like you have the whole bring your own device type of deal in most corporate offices, right? And let's say you have 100 different offices around the country. Well, there's numerous authentication mechanisms. Usually, it's a certificate, similar to how you do with Helium Mobile. When you have the app, you use the certificate to join up to do the mapping. Really,
Yep.
is what it is.
And
Now,
for
when it
most
comes to
people, that's like totally, they don't see that. They don't really touch that. They just kind of hit a couple buttons and things work.
yeah, and it's the
Yeah.
same way when you're doing it in an enterprise environment. They give you a QR code to scan or something to download, and what that does, like in an enterprise environment, the Hotspot 2.0, it allows you to broadcast at every office. You can broadcast the same SSID. They have the authentication credentials immediately. It's pretty much secure from the sense that like people don't have to share the pre-shared key to join, and they don't have to go to every different Wi-Fi network, figure out what the pre-shared key is. You just have one network that allows you to use that same cert, and it's a convenience and a security thing. Now, when it comes to like Wi-Fi offload, there's numerous mechanisms. When you have the Helium mobile app, like I said, use a cert, but let's say it's AT&T, T-Mobile, um, what are the other ones here? There's a Google Fi. I think Cricket might
Verizon,
be
whatever.
one, but
There's a
yeah,
million. Yep.
yeah. So when you look at the radius logs, they're actually using, I believe it's their SIM credentials that that is authenticating to that, right? That's like what their username and password, to very loose explanation, um, to join that SSID, right? So with the hotspot 2.0 configurations at the AP, really what you're the Wi-Fi controller and access point, when you're configuring that, it's basically the it's called I'm drawing a blank here, but anyways, the codes that you put in,
Yep.
I think
Yep.
they're like MCS and like uh what was the other one, RCOIs, and those are essentially signaling to the clients like these are the networks that are supported, that are partners, that if you have one of these, you can join this network. And then when they join, the authentication is done through, in this case, Helium's radiator, but there's always some sort of radius server that is keeping track of who associates where and whether they're authorized, or and when to kick them out, right? And if they're using too much traffic for something, it's also keeping track of a lot of analytic statistics. I believe that, and I haven't looked at this deep enough, but I believe that there some of that data that they do collect when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to clients joining up is really how good or bad that their service is, like how
Yeah,
efficient they're, because the carrier wants to know if it's a good setup or if it's not really optimal, and it's not doing any justice to their users, because the whole way
got it.
this came about. So like when I first started out, like we're talking about enterprise, that's kind of where this originated. But the carrier's seeing that, okay, now that they have 5G, but you need so many more cellular towers to because the range just isn't as far as the 4G cellular. They and applications are just becoming so much more data hungry. More people are using
Yep.
mobile phones and plans. So in those areas that are just dense in clients, people,
Sure.
wherever, and maybe the coverage isn't the best, or it's just sucking up so much. There's so much contention for airtime, with RF, that it actually benefits the carriers to have someone off, that they can offload this data to through Wi-Fi, and
Yep.
they're willing to pay for it, right?
Got it. So let me ask you this, and we'll put it in kind of context for a more normal person. I was hanging out with my buddy Zach. He owns this bar, Tabula Rasa, in, I want to say Silver Lake. It's somewhere in LA, maybe Hollywood, whatever, the greater Los Angeles area. Super good food. He's a foodie. And he was asking me what I was up to, and I was telling him about the helium thing. I was like, oh, you should put one of these little boxes in your restaurant. It's a busy thoroughfare, so there's people all over the place, both in the restaurant and out. I think he said at the peak, about 100 people in the restaurant. So it's like, for me, I thought, okay, this would probably be a good thing for you. These helium boxes are $300. And he starts asking me like, okay, what do I do with my current Wi-Fi? Will this cause problems for customers? How do they have to sign on? Like, what are the issues? Let's say a normal kind of restaurant owner or someone who's a cafe owner, whatever, God forbid the DMV, get better signal. What are things they have to think about when it comes to this piece of kind of the application of RF theory?
Yeah, RF theory, or just your general
I guess like general, like
administration. We
for
can
him, he
go
wants
through.
his customers to sit down, be able to pull out their phone, take a picture of the
Yeah,
food, send it off to Instagram without worrying about
yeah.
collisions.
You know, there's a debate, but I haven't seen much, anything like solid evidence as to, if you have an open SSID, which I don't necessarily recommend, and there's a reason why offload is different. If you have an open SSID that anyone can just join, many people say you want to disable it. Some would claim that it's because, if that you can see that through the data that the carriers collect, and they're more likely to not approve carrier offload for that location. Now, I don't know if that's factual or not,
Oh,
and I
interesting.
haven't
So if he's
tried.
got whatever his local
If you have free
Wi-Fi is, let's
Wi-Fi
call it,
already,
yeah,
yeah,
free Wi-Fi,
then why
you
would
sign in
they pay for
yep,
offload, right?
yep, that
So
makes
some
sense.
people say you should disable it. Others would say you should disable it because you want them roaming on
Onto
to
Helium, so you get paid for
Helium
the
Mobile.
data. Yep.
Yes.
Okay, that's
So
pretty straightforward.
yeah, there's that, but like I was about to, I mentioned why are they different, and we talk about the security concerns with having an open SSID that just anyone can join.
Yeah.
And for businesses, it's different.
Yep.
If it's at your home that you have an open Wi-Fi for anyone to join, yeah, there's a chance someone's going to do something malicious with it, or just use it just
Yep.
cause, and torrent and download music and whatever videos, and then you
Yeah.
get a note from your ISP saying we're shutting you down unless you stop. Or in some countries you get fined like mad for that, right?
Hmm.
Um, so you don't want that happening, right? You don't want anything illegal happening on your network, whether you're going to be held accountable for it or not.
Yep.
But what's
Totally.
different with Helium, Helium Mobile, and any other sort of hotspot 2.0 carrier offload, or even like open roaming, right? There is, you know, it's basically your So your cell phone or whatever device you're using, your identity is tied to that. With carrier offload, it's certainly tied to like a know your customer type of plan, and you're all like the carrier knows who you are,
Yep. Okay.
and
Yeah.
any competent law enforcement agency is going to look a level deeper, just other than where's the illegal traffic originating from, what public IP is it originating from. Like, you can tie it to your identity,
Yep.
and it's many of these investigations are conducted, even though they look at network wise what's going on, where is it origin, they're also looking at the application level. And there are it's basically fingerprinting of devices
Yeah.
when they can. So but yeah, because you have that, and also when it's a business location and you have an open Wi-Fi SSID, law enforcement agencies are going to understand that. I don't think they're going to point fingers as fast. It's understandable that there's businesses that just have open Wi-Fi or carrier offload, right? So doing something stupid on a carrier offload setup, at Hotspot 2.0 SSID is tied to you,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. Cool. So yeah, so for Zach, he doesn't, I guess one of the things will be, this is the Zach at Tabula Rasa. One thing's be like, hey, turn off your free Wi-Fi and just point people to Helium. That's pretty straightforward.
But the thing is, not all of the plans will be supported. Like, I'm not sure how much further Verizon has progressed
Mm,
in this. Like, have heard that they have some partnerships in the talks, but they're being very slow and deliberate about it. And
sure.
Verizon has probably the best cellular infrastructure in the country. So
Yeah.
they don't really, like, they're not putting as much value on this as the other carriers. However, it
Oh,
is
offload
is
isn't as important for them because they already have it. They already have the coverage and the
mhm.
bandwidth. Okay.
And then some plans, like if you don't have an unlimited data plan, you may or may not be supported. It just depends on what if you're carrier, if it just depends on your plan. It also depends on the carrier approving that specific spot, whether they find it to be of value or not. But the best advice that you can really give to anyone when it comes to getting approved is, like, really have a good setup is what it comes down to. Have optimal placement. Usually the ceiling, and you want it to be below ceiling tiles, mounted properly in accordance with local fire regulations, right?
All the usual
Um,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, interesting. So I put one in the cafe locally to me, this place Bika right on Adams Ave. And they only had a place next to the router and they're so busy, like they don't give a fuck about this thing. They're like, hey, put it wherever you want. But if I go and I'm like, hey, let me put this in the ceiling, that'll be better for everyone. I think they'd be like, dude, I don't have time, not interested. So is there some kind of massive decrease in capacity if I just shove it under their counter with the rest of their their crazy router rat's nest?
I mean, it's certainly not an optimal placement.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of the same concepts that we learned in the LoRaWAN
Yeah.
days apply here, right? So lineup sight's a big thing. And then if it's right next to another router, or anything electronic or RF transmitting that could possibly, they usually all generate noise,
Yep.
whether it's minimal amount or a significant amount. Just depends on the type of device and what frequency they're transmitting at. But you get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
it's
So
next to a router,
do you think it'll make a difference? Like, so there's these two pieces, like the technical difference, 100% it'll make a difference if I move it away and put it on the ceiling. Like, I can see that being good. For most business owners that I can tell, whether it's Tabula Rasa or Beaker or Paleo Trees, whatever, um, they don't care about that stuff. They're like, hey, does this thing, A, does it work? B, does it earn me these tokens? And C, does it make it better for my customers? Like, that's all they care about. So thinking
and
in those terms, if I go back into Beacon and say like, hey guys, I think this will actually be better for you if you put it on the ceiling. Do you think that's yeah, do you think that's true? Like
I mean,
will they see a
if it
difference?
works, it works. Now,
Yeah.
are there people sitting outside? Are there other businesses next door? Is it a plaza? Like, you know,
All
whether
those
it's
things.
mounted on the ceiling, and the direction of it is going to determine how far the cell coverage is, right?
And
Cell
what does
size.
that look like for the boxes? I mean, this thing, there's probably 50 feet to the edge of the property and one wall between the inside of the shop where it is and the outside of the shop where their kind of big seating area is. And they're a busy shop, but I mean, I don't know how many they have at any one time. I'm going to guess at any one time they have this kind of constant average of like 15 to 20 people around there. So not a million people, but there's always someone. And I mean, God, the last time I looked at it, is doing all right. I can look at it
Yeah.
again.
I mean, if there's people sitting outside, I mean, you at least want to have it. You can even wall mount it really and face it in a direction that is optimal to where they're sitting at. But it's just you can always do just a like rule of thumb gauge on it, right? You just go
Yep.
sit outside. Does your cell phone connect? Is the signal decent? And if it is, then I wouldn't worry too much about it. Now, if you're trying to scrape every last bit of data
Yep.
that you want,
Yep.
then yes, it behooves you to really set that up right and place
Dude.
it where you think the most optimal. Now, that could cost you, whether if you're going to run Cat 6 cables to
Wherever it is. What is
across
it?
the bill.
340 gigs of data in the last 30 days.
That's pretty good. I mean,
And I'm wondering, like,
it's
if I go
working,
back in there and I'm like, hey, let's do this. My buddy Joe told me to do this thing. This will be better. I'm wondering what I would expect to see improvement wise. Like, would that go up to 500 gigs? Or is that just like, no, you're going to go from 340 to 360? Like, you weren't really missing that much by having it in the counter versus.
it'd probably be more like 360.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
It's hard to tell. It just really so
I want a
yeah.
guarantee, Joe. You tell me right
Yeah.
now exactly what's going to happen.
No, it's hard to tell, but
Yeah.
it's just like the rule of thumb. Well, I don't want to say rule of thumb, just kind of hey, do you connect to it when you're out in the outdoor seating area? Is it a good connection?
And that's it.
That's really and I wouldn't. It's having that whole relationship with people and being a pain in their butt about this stuff can be a hindrance, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
yeah. And I know there's
yeah,
at least one person watching who's been deploying a bunch of these things and has put a ton of time into figuring out, or at least thinking about, how do you communicate what you're doing to people in a way that they can understand. And it's not just like, hey, you're going to make crypto. It's like, hey, this is how this thing works, so that they understand it and feel kind of safe with it.
yeah.
So
As I kind of the intro to it, cellular offload, and why the carriers are willing to pay for this
yep.
is where I start. I do explain the whole security aspect to it. Now,
How do you
there,
explain security to people? Because one thing with Bika, this is actually a good question for you, is one of the guys like, hey, my whatever brother's a security guy. He'll take a look at this and we'll see. I never heard back from him, but I'd love to have like a whatever 2-minute kind of explanation. Like, this is why this is secure and more secure than whatever the next alternative is, or not.
yeah. So it does depend. So with Helium Mobile, last time I checked, and I believe this is still true, they're
Sure.
doing uh, network address translation at the access point level, right? So you join with this private IP, and then it does NAT all to the private IP uh, that your hotspot's given. Then it goes through the router and it's NATed again to your public IP. And when I tried, I didn't try hard enough, but it's a matter of when they connect to that, are they able to see what is on your local area network, whatever else is on that IP subnet, other devices, which with a lot of APs and with some other projects who do this, who deploy these, yes, they are getting the DHCP, the IP addresses from the actual router, and the access point is just layer 2, no network address translation. So yes, it would be able to scan your subnet, and if they have some fancy tools on their phone, or how if it's a laptop with whatever the cert or the plan that allows them to connect, then yes, they'd be able to look at what devices and see if they can compromise them, right?
God. Okay, so
So
let me think this through. Is that, let's say a business, and lots of businesses have a Unify. We certainly do.
mhm.
So if I'm running that with one access point in my little cookie shop, which I am, and I'm running a Helium hotspot, is there a way for me as a business owner to think about this like, oh, it's just easier to kind of do security with the Helium hotspot versus should I just make this open Wi-Fi thing on Unify and kind of rely on Unify to handle whatever security stuff is out there and not let people get onto the guest network and then figure out like, oh yeah, Nick accidentally put his printer on the guest network and I'll get to the printer and through the printer I'll get to the next thing, etc. Is there like a big difference between what
so
Helium's doing versus everyone else?
their setup is a little bit different. Now, I believe with when you say unify, you're probably using the whole stack, like firewall, switch,
Yep.
access point,
Yep. Yeah, it
and
seemed
then you
easier to
have
like buy everything from the same place. Like, hey, you guys figure this
oh
shit
yeah,
out.
unify is it's great for small, medium sized stuff. So
Yep.
um, I'll look at the doc real quick here. I do believe, yeah, this one's they can also do NAT at that at the access point level, and but what I would do to just really be sure, whether it's the Helium mobile. I got more questions for you about that, but I'll finish
Shoot.
this off. Just to be sure, I would create a separate VLAN on what if it's router firewall. You can use those interchangeably, basically. But you could create a separate interface on that with a separate subnet. And in firewalls, generally you have like policy objects that say, okay, I'm only allowing traffic from this interface to traverse to the WAN. It can't go to my other LAN interface. So
Yep.
you want to set that up so they you can't do inter VLAN routing,
Yep.
and you just have one just for um, just for the pass point. And with something like Unify, you can assign a, basically what is a security policy, QoS policy, like you can use some sort of DNS filtering, even though that is only a deterrence. It doesn't get everything, but better
Yeah.
to use that to what kind of traffic you're comfortable filtering. Then with there's security policies. If you have like a next generation firewall that has a constant, basically they always pull an update of like IP addresses that may be malicious sites, malware, like known nefarious IP
Yep.
addresses,
Yep.
and as well as websites that whatever gambling, porn stuff you don't want. So you can apply that, and it's whatever you're comfortable with. I mean, in certain locations like hotels and truck stops, if you block porn, it's going to deter a lot of your data off. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
not
Yeah.
very
That's
people
what
are
you're
going to
into.
use it. So it's right.
That's
But
what people are into. Oh, interesting. And do you have like a video on like how to set up your Unify for Helium? I'd feel like that'd be something that you could do that you'd crush
uh,
with.
I do not.
Okay.
I don't use Unify often, so um,
Like us, yeah, yeah. That's low level scum suckers using Unify. We're not all like Cisco Meraki wizards.
I just have to show off what's in my lab. I got the Cisco 9800
Ooh, fancy.
wireless controller. Yeah, I got a Meraki AP over there, Cisco AP. So that's yeah. I borrow them from works for training and
Yeah.
personal use, because when you use it and you create problems, you find out real quick. Whatever you're labbing. So, but yeah, that doc that Joey put together is tremendous. It's very straight to the point.
Hmm.
Um,
Oh, did you send
the
me this
oh,
thing? This wasn't the thing that you sent me. I put that link down in the description, which is like the channel planning best practices thing.
oh yeah, we'll definitely talk about channel planning best practices and all that. Yeah, we can jump into that right now. But
Yeah, hit it.
all right, so This is a little bit of a, you know, I don't pet peeve of mine when I see it, and
Sure.
I don't want to pick on anyone here or say that anyone's stupid, because there's a lot to this. It's takes a while to understand, and I see there's no one right or wrong way to do it when it comes to, well, there's several wrong ways to do it, but there's several methods that may not be good for one situation, but it's good for another, right? And there's it's once again up to what you want to do personally with your hardware. But I'll tell you what I do, and what I do in a lot of public venues, not for Helium Mobile or Wi-Fi offload, but specifically for, I work for a managed network service company that does a lot of public public venues, and when it's the same, just about the same methodology and concepts as when you're planning for, which Helium Mobile Wi-Fi offload, which is a public network, and it comes down to whether you want the network to be as good, as fast as possible, and or do you want to support, you know, more, you want to be more compatible for more clients and have more people join.
Okay.
And it's a balancing act, right? So
So it's more approachable versus higher performance.
yeah. And if you've seen some of my commentary in the Helium Discord around this subject matter, it's also what we said in the beginning of the show. Through that Helium Mobile Builder dashboard, they claim that within the coming months you'll be able to choose your channels and choose your transmit power.
And why
And
is that
these are,
important for a normal person? Like I can see some wireless geek like, oh great, I get to choose like channel 17 at 2 dBm or whatever the fuck it is. Like why does some regular person care about that?
well, if you're like crazy like us, where what same concept back to the IoT days. Every little last detail
Yep.
to increase earnings and have the best hotspot, right?
Okay.
And there is a performance difference depending on how you set this up. Now, um, just some basic rule of thumbs here that like I go off of. So 2.4 gigahertz, you have in North America, there's three channels that you can use that don't overlap, and that's 1, 6, and 11. And if you use anything else, um, it's an ignorant thing to do, and it's also being a rude neighbor. It's like if you were on a three-lane highway and you drive down the middle of where the lane, both like
Yeah,
your
yeah, and you swerve a little. You just
two
take up all
lanes.
three
That's
lanes.
that's
Yeah.
essentially, you know, if you're using channels 1, 6, and 11, you're playing nice. But if you're on something else, you're causing overlap, usually in two channels, and interference, and it's
So why wouldn't
there's a
they
way.
program it so it only uses 1, 6, and 11? What are the advantages of using other channels? Or are there none?
Well, if you're around, I mean, I haven't seen it that, other than people at home where maybe they aren't by another house, like other neighbors using other channels, and they'll use channel 13 or something. I don't know. I don't understand why they would. It's I don't think that clients join as fast. You're certainly causing problems for your neighbors, if not yourself. But why would some vendors or people use it? Well, I'll give you an example. I was setting up a new platform, enterprise platform, and they did not disable all the channels besides 1, 6, and 11. So out of the box, this thing is like broadcast. It will just choose whichever one it wants. The algorithm will choose that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's maybe one of the reasons people do that.
Hmm.
Others believe that oh, everyone else is using 1, 6, and 11. So if I use channel 8, then I'm on a different channel. But no, that's overlapping channel 6 and 11. And that's in the show notes, I believe, in that channel planning
Mm-hmm.
doc from
Yep.
Ekahau.
Yep.
it has images that kind of display that, right?
Yep. Let's see if I can.
Besides that, 2.4 gigahertz is just, there's just so much noise and interference on it. Microwaves are one of the things that cause noise on 2.4, like an extreme amount of noise too. In some cases, you just can't use the Wi-Fi if that's what you're limited to. Wireless microphones, another one of them. Anything Bluetooth, even like baby monitors, and it's technically that band is for anyone to use as long as they're doing it in accordance with regulation. But it's things that aren't Wi-Fi don't play nice with Wi-Fi, right?
Yep.
So that's one of them. You're just not going to get as great of a service. Now, yes, it'll go farther technically, but it's called signal noise ratio. Just the quality overall is not going to be as good, generally speaking. So you have a lower. It's called MCS, but it's basically the modulation, like the way that the RF is manipulated to convey data in bits. So you're just not going to be able to pass as much traffic, right? Um, that's 2.4, and I pointed this out to Helium Mobile before that. Like some of these APs, Helium Mobile hotspots, they're broadcasting on. At least it shows in the dashboard that they're broadcasting on channels other than 1, 6, and 11. And I believe the response was that was like just a dashboard error. It's not, they're not set up in the actual controller aspect of it. It's set up for 1, 6, and 11. Now, I just looked at my hotspot that I have here, and it's on channel 7. So I don't know, but like I said, it's being an inconsiderate neighbor is what you're doing if you're on any other channels,
Got it.
right?
Okay.
And then I'm just uh, kind of a diva about it. I just want the very best quality. So like even 5 gigahertz is kind of I like the 6 gigahertz, right?
Who doesn't
It's
like good 6 gigahertz?
yeah. But the caveat to that for like Helium Plus people, where there is to bring your own device, brownfield type of deployment, you need to set it up for WPA3 to actually use 6 gigahertz, and that's last time I checked the docs, most of these are saying WPA2, right? So it's just a matter of changing to WPA3 um, encryption for, because when they came out with the 6 gigahertz standard, they said we're tired of everyone using WPA2. We're going to force them to use WPA3 because WPA2 is,
Not as good. Yep.
not, yeah, you can crack it if you try hard enough, right? And there's just better security mechanisms with WPA3 new standard. So that's a prerequisite there. Um, Now diving into the 5 gigahertz side of things, you have what are called DFS channels, dynamic frequency selection channels. And what those are, it's Uni 2 and Uni 2 extended. So that whole range between channels 52 to 144, that is shared spectrum. And that is uh, shared with other types of transmissions from, there's military communications, like air traffic control type communications, radars. Weather radar is one of them. That's I believe it's channels 120 to 128. Uh, there's another one. I see a lot of DFS hits by areas with like shorelines,
Mm-hmm.
uh, marinas. But yeah, so point being here, when you hear a DFS transmission on one of those channels, you have to move off it. Like you're supposed to seize communication, and everyone basically drops. Your AP is supposed to change to a different channel,
Sure.
depending on the vendor. Like I've seen some really weird behaviors where it just comes back up 5 minutes later, which is technically a violation. But like regardless, everyone was still kicked off your access point for a couple minutes there. For that reason, I would never use DFS channels on an outside access point. Like, no way, because with that open airspace, like, though that DFS transmissions can travel over 10 miles. If it's coming from like an airplane, or if you just are at a place high enough that has line of sight, like over in San Diego, DFS nightmare, because right off that shoreline, like the bayfront area, right
Yep.
over by the airport.
Yep.
You have the airport. You have two different branches of military there. You have a weather station there. Like, that's just flooding DFS events
You're
all over San
constantly going to
Diego.
get kicked off. Okay.
So if you have an outdoor AP there, which these all seem to be preferring DFS channels, then it's not optimal, in my
Okay, so this is what
opinion.
you're saying is so exciting about being able to pick your channel is you can say, hey, I don't want to be in those channels. I want my customers to have a good experience where they don't get kicked off every time a plane lands. Cool. I'm going to set these channels to be whatever X, Y, and Z
Mhm.
that are not DFS. Okay, now I'm tracking.
So with that, now there's also another. I forget what exactly. I'm gonna have to pull it up here, but there's other details behind DFS and um, how often client devices probe for those Uni 2 and Uni 2E channels. Some clients do have a little bit, like client devices that are older, have an issue with the DFS channel just joining them, particularly 2E. That's not as common with the most recent devices, but they scan for them. I believe one article I read says for every time, um, like an iPhone probes for non, they for every 6 times they probe non-DFS channels, they probe DFS channels one time or scan for them, right? So
Okay.
it's less likely that clients are going to join in many cases. Like, it's going to take them longer to join. Now, the
So why
pros
would
of
someone
using,
use a DFS channel? Just because it's most of the time it is open?
because in the 5 gigahertz, without DFS channels, you have a very limited uh, amount of channels to use. You have uh,
Okay,
Uni
so it's kind of
1
like
and Uni.
gambling where you're like, if I could, I'll roll the dice here. If I get kicked off, I get kicked off. But
Yeah,
if I don't get kicked off, it's a better experience.
yeah. Like, when you have them indoors, certainly. Like, if you're in a big venue, you basically need them.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're going to have overlapping channels and a much worse signal noise ratio, right? Now, another reason to use them is, in general, they're a lot less noisy. And going back to what I was saying about, there's a lot of client devices that don't support DFS channels, particularly too extended. Well, because of that, the general, like, retail products that are sold when it comes to out of the box routers for home users or for businesses or for any type of device that has to broadcast an SSID on Wi-Fi, generally speaking, more oftentimes than not, they are going to use channels that are not DFS. And more devices use them in general, just in your surroundings. You go into a coffee shop, they're probably using a channel from Uni 1 or Uni 3, right?
Yep. I
Then
mean,
that's going to be just
taking the yes like
noisy.
I know. I'm assuming you're
Yeah,
correct.
yeah. So, non-DFS channel. This is just going to be more noisy in those channels. So you actually have a way better signal noise ratio and in DFS channels, generally speaking, because you don't have the random you know uh, average person's device just out of the box set up on one of them. Um, so those are two reasons right there: cleaner and because you need more channels if you have like a massive venue where you need to come up with a non-overlapping uh, like channel plan that you assign to each access point at each different location. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so a lot of what you're saying is really applicable to the bigger enterprise clients or bigger enterprise kind of customers, not so applicable to like the one coffee shop, one cafe kind of thing, because those they just don't have the same general problems. Or am I missing something where you're like, no, Nick, they should pay attention to this, and when this ability to pick your own channel comes out, they should go in and choose this because this will be better for their clients and make them more tokens.
Well, you know, it's really up to the average individual. Like,
Yeah, but they
you
don't
know,
know. They're like, I'm putting this box up, and the box makes crypto tokens, and it makes it's better for my clients. Like they would, if I
yeah.
ever meet someone in a cafe who's like, "Hey, I set the DFS to 1 in 7," I'll send you a fucking crisp $100 bill.
All right. Yeah. Well, no. So it, I've given you both, both sides of the argument. So make your own choice is what it comes down to. But I'll tell you
Yeah.
another thing that I wouldn't do is 80 megahertz wide channel bonding. So if you're to go look at that link that I sent you, and you're looking at the 5 gigahertz channel allocations picture, you see on the left side where it says 20, 40, 80, and 160. Well, in you have looks if you're looking at Uni One, right? You have channels 36, 40, 48, 44, and 48. Those are all 20 megahertz wide,
Okay.
but you can bond two of them together and make it a wider channel.
Yep.
So you have more bandwidth. That is the true meaning of bandwidth. You have a wider band to use.
Yep.
And because you have more frequency range to play with, it technically should be faster. Now, the downside to that is that every time you double channel bandwidth, you also have your signal noise ratio is 3 decibels worse. So it's a worse noise floor,
Yep.
and
I'm losing video on you. I don't know if you're seeing that, but I'm just getting a
you
black
can't
screen, so I
get
can hear you
as
okay.
high of a modulation. You also can't, you know, the signal.
There we go.
What's going on here?
We'll get it.
All right, am I back?
Yeah, yeah. I got you back. There's
Losing,
something
losing
going
my
on in your
train of
network.
thought.
Feel
So,
like
anyways,
someone's
like
hacking you.
I always look. I always use. Yeah, well, I'm hardwired.
Yeah.
I always use um 20 megahertz wide channels, and for 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. Now for 6 gigahertz, I use 80 megahertz wide. The other thing to consider here is called PSD, power spectral density, and that is just, you guys are gonna have to research it if you're interested. And that's the whole theory as to the more channels that you bind together, the more bandwidth you have, then what's the impact on how what your transmit power actually is, what your signal noise ratio actually is. So anyway, there is in Helium Mobile, they do 80 megahertz wide channels. That's extremely wide in terms of bonding. Like, look, and they're always preferring DFS channels, even on the outdoor access points. So if any single one of those channels, here's a DFS event, you have to change to a completely different 4 channels. We're talking about 4 bonded channels, which I think is just absolutely crazy. And I also think that, like, having it bonded that wide is just unnecessary and kind of a hindrance.
Why do you
But it's
think they're
not
doing
just
it?
Helium Mobile doing this, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a good question. Now, I think that it is based on the products. I forget the brand of this, that who manufactures it, but it's not just this brand. It's not, there's a lot of algorithms that are available. Each is different when it comes to like Ubiquity, Cisco, Ruckus. You know, each one has a different algorithm as to what they decide is the best channel plan to use, what the how wide the channel should be, what the transmission power should be. And because like as I was explaining, the DFS channels a lot less noisy, so the algorithms typically prefer the DFS channels, and they also prefer channel 165. And the issue with channel 165, once again, a lot of client devices have issues with that channel because it used to be considered ISM and just was not supported, and there was a lot of noise coming from the next the it was code channel interference. So the next part of the spectrum was for some other, I don't know if it's enterprise or industrial use or whatever, but it was
Yep.
just so noisy that it was hard to use. So because of that, the algorithms that choose these channels, man, I'm watching the screen and this is just atrocious. I might have to
You're good now.
rejoin.
It was dicey there for a minute, but it's better. There's a little bit of a lag in what we see versus what's on the tubes.
Oh God.
But you're good now. Don't sweat it.
All right. Well, anyway, so yeah, because of that, you know, the algorithm's always going to pick those channels because they're less noisy, generally speaking. And it's the same
Yep.
thing with Cisco, Meraki, Ruckus, Ubiquity. That's just it, and it drives me crazy too. So I don't. And why does Helium Mobile do it? I don't know. Now there's a lot of theory that goes into this. Like if your only research is 1 or 2 levels deep, it seems optimal. It seems very optimal. But all the factors I just laid out for you, there's trade-offs. So it's really your decision. And it, like I said, in public venues, I will never go beyond a 40 megahertz bond in 5 gigahertz, but in 6 gigahertz, I go into 80. Right. I don't like using DFS channels. Like if I was specifically doing offload, because client devices only scan for them once every 6 times they scan for everything else. So if I want as many people jumping on immediately, then yeah, I'm going to
Use
use
everything.
non-DFS
That makes
channels, right?
sense. Do you think there'll be a kind of a preload structure when all of this stuff is available, or you just say like, hey, I'm going to use Joe's preset, and you have some kind of thing that you whatever sell, whether it's a video or a guide, or it's just like something you push a button, or it's like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Is that possible, or is that just crazy, or is it just like someone's got to read this stuff and figure it out for themselves?
It depends on what tools they make available in the dashboard, right?
Got it. Okay.
But like I'm gonna continue to heckle them about having DFS enabled on outdoor APs, and why we keep seeing channels other than 1, 6, and 11, come up on 2.4. But like indoor, okay, fine, and with an 80 megahertz bond and in the DFS range, I mean, you're once you connect, you're going to have real good signal. Like it's going to be awesome. But it takes a while, even for my phone, to join it if I have one indoors
Yep.
or if it's outdoors and I'm within 20 feet of it, it takes forever to join.
Yeah.
It's that. So I'm kind of just getting way too overzealous with trying to scrape every last bit of data through, making sure as many people get connected, right? Like I said, I don't like the wide channels because they don't travel as far. They don't penetrate walls as good.
Yep.
So if you're in a plaza and you have your shop and then 2 busy shops on both sides of you, you're not going to have as good of the coverage that you're providing is not going to bleed over as good,
Yeah.
right? Now, the other thing that I like to get into is transmit power.
Okay.
And hey, set it for whatever you want. But some people like to set it for as high as it possibly can go.
Yeah.
And in
Hulk
cases with
smash.
mobile, yeah, cases with mobile devices, I mean, you can get away with it, but it's you're typically going to get somewhat of an asynchronous link. Like the cell phone or whatever client device can hear AP very well, so it can download things great. But when it comes to upload, it's not going to be as wonderful. You might have issues, just in general because
How
of
come?
that. Because the cell phones generally don't transmit as high as the access points are able to transmit.
Okay, so when they're trying
Like
to
there's
send it back, they're just getting overwhelmed.
yeah, when they just so let's say that the AP can transmit at like 30 dBm
Mm-hmm.
and whatever has 3 dBi antenna, so
Yep.
you're up to 33 decibels. Cell phones, they're all different. All client devices are different, but in a lot of the cases I've seen, the max transmit power of 2.4 is fallen somewhere right below 20 decibel milliwatts, and they have little 1 dBi antennas. So the AP can transmit very well to the
Yep.
client devices, but the client devices aren't transmitting as strong, so the AP won't hear them as well. So I can hear the AP very far, and I can get stuck to it, but it can't hear me. Does that make
Got it. So
sense?
you'd be doing your clients a favor, or you'd be doing your customers a favor by saying, hey, I'm going to turn this down so that not only can you get downloads, but you can also upload your stuff back up, and it'll just be a better experience for you as a customer walking into the coffee shop, streaming, video of the burger you just
Yeah.
bought or whatever.
There's certainly some wiggle room because generally speaking, you download way more data than you actually upload,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you're going to have a bunch of retransmissions whenever you're doing anything that's uploading, whether it's any outbound traffic. So right, clicking a link,
Yep.
or sending a video. But when you're downloading stuff, you're going to be pretty decent. So I don't like to set it above 21 decibels, generally speaking.
Okay, because that matches what
Now,
most phones can do.
it's a little bit more than what most phones can do in my estimation. Here's the thing: I can't tell you that for certain
Mm-hmm.
because it's very hard to figure out the exact specs of iPhone.
Yep.
Um, and when another part of the RF theory, that's if you're doing cellular coverage size planning, is if you want each band to have the same coverage size, just about, you
Yep.
would there's it's a 3 decibel difference. So if I am transmitting on, let's say, 2.4, and I have it at, let's say, 12 decibels, then I want to set 5 gigahertz at 15 decibels transmit, or it should be dBm, decibel milliwatt. So 15 decibel milliwatt transmit power for 5 gigahertz, and then 18 decibel milliwatt for 6 gigahertz, right? So they're all
Okay.
relatively the same cell size. And if
Yep.
that's something you want to do, that's usually what I would do. Sometimes, like, I just prefer that 5 or 6 is used, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I make 2.4 a little bit smaller.
If we look at this as kind of overall tuning, it sounds like from the first example where it was like, oh, this thing downloaded or processed whatever it was, 320 or 340 gigahertz per month. If you tune this network, it'll go up to 360 gigahertz, something like that. Is that kind of the general takeaways? If you're looking to get every last gig through this thing, you should tune it, but you shouldn't expect more than whatever it, 5% difference. Or do you
Yeah,
think that
I wouldn't.
good?
Yeah, it depends
Okay.
on, it's situation dependent. So in some cases it might make, all the
A
difference
huge
in the
difference. Yep.
world, but I would say very few.
Okay.
But if in many cases it might make a slight difference, hey, you might have to play around with it, and it's very hard to gauge because, like, depending on where, what your business location is and
Every
how many
situation is different.
customers you see a day, I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to be hard to gauge how that works, right? So, like, how much of a difference it's actually making, right?
Okay. Well, I mean,
But
it's good to know that it's out there and there's something that you could do if you wanted to get better. So that's pretty awesome. Ripping, dude. We're at the end of the hour. Thanks a ton for coming
all
on.
right,
Thanks for walking
thanks for having me.
walking me through it and filling my brain box with even more information. I appreciate making time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. All right, take
Yeah.
care. Thanks, everyone.
Yep. We'll see you guys later. We're out.